there is a new war, but we're not talking about armed conflict. This type of war involves computers, codes, and breaching firewalls of IT infrastructure. Let's talk about digital war against online criminals committing fraud and theft. We have with us here tonight Derek Manky, global security strategist of FORTINET, correct?
Yes, correct.
FORTINET is a network provider for cybersecurity solutions. And Derek, thank you very much for being here. And you're here in Manila because you spoke at a conference, right?
Yes, that's correct. That's the third annual cybercrime, PNP cybercrime conference today, discussing a lot of threats that occur, and obviously this is front and center today.
Yeah. Let's begin with this. How does something like this happen?
So we've been, this has been happening since basically the start of the computer era, hacking attempts and attacks into networks. It typically starts from the inside, right?
The inside?
The inside of a network. So
okay.
Hackers are typically trying to put code, some malicious code that's going to run inside the network and allow a communication path so that they can control that and facilitate instructions from the inside. And this is typically done from external hackers, but in some cases it can also be done from an internal employee as well, as an example.
Okay, so this is typically done. It's not like this is anything new. This happens all the time.
Yes.
And in big amounts.
Absolutely. I mean, even looking back 10 years, we had TJ Maxx as a very large case that happened back in the U.S. It was over 100 million credit cards stolen. Investigations took over 4 years to complete, which ended up sentencing an individual to 20 years in prison. So there was prosecution that happened, but you know, this came from a threat that was sitting on the network unmonitored for well over the period of a year. So, you know, I always say time is money. It's imperative to find these threats, even if it is sitting on the network, and stop the bleeding, so to speak.
And how do you find the threat?
So detection, right? These threats can often emit different signals, so security solutions can often monitor malicious activity that's happening inside of the network. And if you can cut off that communication channel to the outside hacker, there's no way that they can facilitate those instructions, so you're effectively stopping the threat there.
Can the hackers be tracked? Can you find them? And you know, in the end, can you get your money back?
It takes some time. As I said, even in the case with TJ Maxx, this was over 4 years. As we know, and as highlighted in this case, cybercrime has no borders. Right? We're dealing with multiple jurisdictions. It's imperative that the private and public sector work together, so security experts and vendors, law enforcement, and other officials as well. It's the only way that we can actually collaborate on intelligence to find out who did this, how they did that, and trace the money trail. Okay,
so you've been monitoring this Bangladesh bank hacking. So you know that 4 bank accounts opened back in May 2015 in this RCBC branch in Makati. So relatively small amounts, no transactions whatsoever in the following months after that. Then boom, all of a sudden, Feb 2016, you have these millions of dollars. That in itself is a signal, right? I mean, it means something.
Well, I think it's warranted to be inspected, right? You know, even in the U.S., as an example of anti-money laundering laws, it's about anything over $10,000 is typically inspected. Just because a bank account is stale and then some funds are transferred isn't necessarily a red alarm, but definitely in an abnormal amount or sums. These are all part of those algorithms or intelligence, you know, speaking of, that should prompt investigation, which is obviously what's happening here
but what's
today.
Interesting is that May 2015 and then Feb 2016, so all those months, in other words, there were already plans to transfer big amounts of money to those accounts. Right. Can you say that? Is that something that we should be?
So, I mean, all the details haven't been disclosed in that investigation. So, but you know, like I said again, any of these transfers, you know, the focus should be on trying to investigate where that came from, how it happened, what the source of that threat was too. Because we have to, you know, when it comes to stopping these attacks, obviously we have the security solutions that can start to mitigate the risk of these attacks, but we also have the, you know, we need to chase the money trail. We need to find out who is behind this as well. And again, that takes that private and public sector collaboration. And, you know, we're part of this as well. We work closely with the public sector as security experts.
Okay, a very brief wrap up from you.
So this, as I said, this has been happening for well over 10 years. It's going to continue to happen. User education is key. We see this happening even to end users with online banking, right? So to all your viewers out there, it's imperative to understand where these attacks come from. They come from malicious websites and so forth. Get a valid security solution in place. And I think for the industry, like I spoke on today's PNP Summit, we're seeing a good movement between the public and private sector as well.
All right. Thank you very much, Derek Manky, Global Security Strategist, Fortinet. Maraming salamat.
Thank you.